Hey Ken, looks like we got a fun project. What are we doing today?
We're going to be putting an amp and subwoofer in this 2016 CX5. Stay tuned.
Ken, we got this 2016 Mazda CX5. I believe it's got the Bose system in it. We've got three great products here. We got an 8-gauge power kit, we got a kicker amplifier, and a kicker downward firing subwoofer. Why have we chosen these three particular products for this customer?
So as you said, it does have that factory Bose system in it. So the signal on it might not be flat. So the signal that we're going to send to our amplifier is probably not flat or the same amplitude at all the bass frequencies.
And I know that scares a lot of people. And they
Sure.
probably want to shy away from it. It has the Bose, but there's no reason to.
The key is the answer to that. So the KEY500.1 has something called DSP, or digital signal processing, built into it. It's able to flatten that signal to equal the amplitude at all those bass frequencies, so it's going to sound normalized compared to what maybe just a standard amplifier can do. So we chose to use the KEY500.1 for that, and we're going to use a 10-inch down-firing subwoofer, the TRTP enclosed subwoofer system, and then our PK8 amplifier kit will power that amplifier.
So this amplifier is actually going to fix the factory signal
Sure
to give
will.
us the bass response we're supposed to?
It does, and it does it all simply too. It's an auto setup process. You kind of hit a button and it takes over from there.
Well, I can't wait to hear this. Let's go. Now that we've got all the products selected for this install, we need to figure out where we're going to put them. That's why I'm in the back seat. Done a little research and we found out that the Bose amplifier is actually under the front passenger seat. This is going to make it very easy because if we have enough room for the KEY500.1, we can put it right next to the factory amplifier because that's where we're going to get signal. We also need to test that factory signal. So we're going to use an RTA to do that. But first, let's test fit the amplifier to make sure it will actually fit under the seat. I think that's going to fit perfectly right where I've set it. We've got plenty of room for wire access to adjust the amplifier, and it's going to be out of the way of your feet so it's not going to interfere with the passengers in the back seat. Next, we're going to need to take the seat out. We're going to need to test that factory signal to see what it really looks like. Since this car has the Bose amplifier, it's probably changed the frequency response of the signal. What we're going to do is we're going to hook up the RTA to the speaker outputs of the Bose amplifier, and we're going to play pink noise to see the frequency response. The really cool thing is, once we're done hooking up the KEY500.1 and tuning it, we're able to turn the key on and off to see what a difference it made to the signal and how much it's improved it. So to test the signal, we're going to need a couple simple items. First thing we're going to need is an iPad so we can actually use an RTA app to see the frequency response. The other thing we're going to need to use is this little RTA testing device we've made, and you can find this under the support tab at kicker.com. It's very simple to build and fairly inexpensive, but it's a very important tool. Let's go ahead and take the seat out, let's get to the signal and test it, and let's see what it looks like. If we look at the RTA, there's no signal going into it, but we've got a little bit of background noise. As long as we turn the signal up so the signal is above that level, we know we're going to get an accurate reading. So let's turn the volume up and see what the response looks like. Now I've paused the signal so we can see that bass roll-off we were talking about. We can also see here about 250 hertz, the signal is starting to roll off on the high end as well. That means that is just a woofer response. It's not a full range signal. This signal is going to be adequate for what we're going to do, and when we apply the key technology, it's going to correct for this bass roll-off.
So now we're running the power wire for our KEY500.1 amplifier. A lot of people consider this to be the most difficult part of the install, which is getting that power wire through the firewall, so from the engine compartment into the passenger compartment. Look for a factory grommet, a large factory rubber grommet that you can share with, maybe poke a hole through with a metal coat hanger or another sharp tool, but be very, very careful not to poke any of those factory wires. So if there's a solid inch of spare rubber that you can stab through, go ahead and use that. If you can't find a factory grommet to use, or maybe you don't want to take that risk and you want to go ahead and drill your own hole, that's completely okay. I recommend using a step bit or a unibit for this purpose, and the reason being is once you actually penetrate through that firewall, that bit doesn't then go racing through 2 or 3 inches like it would with a regular drill bit, and you might actually poke something on the other side accidentally, whether it be a brake booster or something like that. So use a step bit, go ahead and make the hole as large as you need to pass the wire, and then this is not optional, make sure you use a grommet to cover up those sharp metal edges as you go ahead and pass that power wire through. So we've got our power wire run through that factory grommet, and we have it connected directly to the battery. Make sure you do connect your power wire directly to the positive battery post. Do not connect to some power distribution nut that the factory might have or something like that. Directly at the positive battery post, and then again, not optional, and that's going to be the fuse block. If you're using a kicker power kit, we actually have a little spot with 2 pieces of heat shrink and a little label that says insert fuse holder here. So go ahead and cut the power wire at that location and go ahead and insert the fuse holder. Make sure it's mounted well in the car where it's not going to get snagged or smashed anywhere. We have this little piece of ABS that we molded in place to make sure that the fuse holder would stay out of the way and stay secure. I do recommend you go ahead and leave the fuse uninstalled until everything else is done in the car. So wait until you have all the power wire, ground wire, and everything connected at the amplifier and you're ready to go live. Go ahead and install that fuse as your final step. Put the fuse cover back on. So now that we have the amplifier all wired up beneath the seat, before we mount it, we're going to go ahead and run the auto setup process for the DSP built into the KEY500.1. This is where the magic happens. So in order to start the auto setup process, we need to make sure gain is set properly first, and that's part of the setup. And we're going to use some test tones that we have available on kicker.com. So if you go to kicker.com, you're going to download the test tones. Underneath the support tab, there's a tab called what else but test tones. So go under KEY500.1, download the gain match track as well as the 500.1 sweep track. Save them to a USB flash drive or maybe burn them to a CD that you can play through your source unit. You're going to play them through your source unit at about 3/4 volume or just before clipping level on the head unit. Make sure all your tone controls on the head unit are set flat. So bass, treble, bass boost, loudness, any type of sound shaping features, make sure those are set flat before you start. But in order to get started, we're going to go ahead and press the key button for 3 seconds. It's going to flash the gain match LED. Once you see the gain match LED start flashing, you're going to go ahead and let go of the key button, and then you're going to increase gain until the gain match LED starts lighting up again, and then back gain down just a little bit until it goes out. Once gain is set correctly, now you can do the auto EQ portion of it. So you're going to use the other track called KEY500.1 Sweep. In order to get the amplifier to go into that mode, you're going to press and hold it, but you're going to continue to hold it even after this gain match LED flashes for the first time. So the first set of flashes is for the gain match section. The second set of flashes is going to be for the DSP setup or the sweep setup. So go ahead and hold it for about 5 to 6 seconds, and then you'll be able to get into the auto setup portion of the DSP. The LED will stop blinking and go dark while it's calculating, and you'll see it rapid flashes after about 20-30 seconds to let you know the calculations are complete. And that's it. We're all done. Go ahead and set your crossovers appropriately, bolt the amp down, and we're good to go.
So we've now hooked up the RTA to the output of the KEY500.1. This is its response without the Key's DSP equalization engaged. If you notice 25 Hertz, which is pretty deep bass, it's averaged about -47 dB in output. What's really cool is the Key has an on and off button for the DSP circuitry, so you can see and hear the difference this amplifier really makes. When we engage the Key circuitry, you watch this bass frequency increase, and if you look at the scale, we now notice it's got -34 dB of output. So it's gained about 12 dB more output at 25 Hertz. And if you know anything about output and dB, that's a ton more bass. This car is going to sound fantastic. Well, Ken, here we are at the back of the vehicle, and I know at the front of the vehicle, running that power wire is my least favorite thing to do too. Good thing you had that factory grommet.
Yep.
We've got this TRTP in here. It's all ready to go. It's lined up. There's plenty of wire in case the customer wants to move it. Is there anything else we need to do?
Well, we do include some L brackets with our TRTP downfiring enclosures, so make sure you do secure those to keep the box from sliding around.
Safety's always a good idea.
That's right, but we're all set. Let's crank it up.